Hi there everyone, my name is Christian Eschbach and welcome to another one of my album reviews. If you're one of my regular viewers, you know what's going on. If you're not one of my regular viewers, you have no clue what's going on. I am going to see two concerts in 2023 as it's currently planned. I could always add more. One of them is Metallica, which is why my last two reviews were for Load and Reload, because those were the two concerts I got to see Metallica on. So far, I'm going to go see him again this year for the new album. Can't wait. 2 nights, 2 different set lists. Okay, now, the other concert I'm going to see in May is Helloween. I've covered one of their albums already. I covered their most recent album. But I had to start checking out the back catalog now. And the plan is to get through all of Helloween's albums before I go see them live. Same thing I did with Rammstein, except I'm going to space it out more. Unlike Rammstein, where I went boom, 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 boom. Because I hadn't covered any albums yet. Metallica, same thing. Before I go see them live, I will cover every single one of their albums now. At least all the, the major ones. I mean, I've already covered quite a bit of weird stuff from Metallica. So anyways, on to Helloween. Now, never really listened to a whole lot of Helloween throughout my years. No one I really knew was overly into Helloween. And I understand why. Because everybody I know that was into European metal, British metal, power metal, that kind of lump group there where, kind of all sounds similar. All right. That, and then you mix in other things I'm going to get into as I go here. So, let's start with the first song. First song, Initiation. It's just basically a cute little intro. But it's really funny because the intro, I know the riff from somewhere else as well, but there's a couple notes played right in the very beginning, and the tone of the keyboard and whatnot reminds me of Iron Butterfly's 1975 Overture. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I do not know. All I know is it does sound that way. All right. For the first 17 seconds. After that, turns into a total modern, 1987 version of modern, power metal song. Great little instrumentation bit. Kicks off the album just right. Only goes 1 minute and 20 seconds. Lets you know how you're getting started. From it there, we're going into the track I'm Alive. This one, it's the simplicity of the chorus that really honestly makes it stand out. This was one of the first songs that really kind of stuck in my head and popped out on this album. And it really is basically because the chorus is, I'm alive, It works, right? But this is where I really got to get into the talk about the Iron Maiden aspect. Iron Maiden's the big elephant in the room on this one. Michael Kiske, who's the vocalist, while not sounding like a Bruce Dickinson impersonator, sounds a hell of a lot like Bruce Dickinson. Not entirely, because there is parts in here where he definitely gets that King Diamond, Merciful Fate kind of thing going on. Kind of a nice mix between Bruce and King Diamond. Yeah, we'll go with that. And because it's power metal, you definitely get that Maiden-like instrumentation. Not, you get a little gallop in there, not the same gallop, though. And that's where that defining difference is between, classic Maiden and this. But I'm going to discuss more about that as we go along, because this is going to be a theme that keeps cropping up. Next track, A Little Time. This song is interesting, but musically it's dated. It sounds very much like 80s power metal. So if you like that, you'll be into this one, but there is honestly, for the casual listener, nothing to this one. Twilight Gods. I said I'd be back to the Maiden comparison. This one sounds like it could have been a B-side to anything from Power Slave up to Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Maybe a little closer on the Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. I was kind of thinking, can I play with Madness? There's a little bit of it that, when I say the B-sides, I was kind of thinking of, Maiden does this great little fun song called Black Bart Blues. Does not belong on an album at all, but is a great song to listen to. This does not sound like that But it's the same idea. It's a good song to listen to. It just wouldn't have fit on a Maiden album. Here it sounds great. It fits perfectly in with this album. But a lot of this album, that's how I would put it. It sounds like Maiden B-sides. Not necessarily leftovers, but proper B-sides. Okay. Moving on. A Tale That Wasn't Right. This one is just a very pretty kind of song. Really is. You can hear the power metal all over the album, but there's definitely also a classical romantic era inspiration, specifically in the technicality of the compositions, you know. Everything technically sounds great. With this particular song, though, it doesn't just sound like they're playing within the scales and making the scale, you know, play, well, you know, we're playing in A minor, so let's use the A minor pentatonic scale here, and maybe we'll throw in a little bit of the Lydian scale from Good Measure, just to give it a little bit of a flavor here. That kind of idea, okay? So you find that in a lot of the solos in power metal, I find specifically, European metal, power metal. It's all about the technical execution. It's not actually about what's being played. This one, on the other hand, while you definitely have that great, beautiful technical execution, it's about what's being played. This is almost an arena power ballad, but it's an arena power ballad done perfectly right. You know, it's not your sappy, crap-ass love song. It's this great little instrumental. Well, it's not instrumental. The instrumentation is this great piece that just has this wonderful, beautiful flow to it. Really, honestly, to me, sounds like it does belong more in a classical or a romantic era style album. You know, Bach, Mozart, in that zone. And no, I'm not going to say Yngwie, because Yngwie is the worst side of that. This is the good side of that. This is, like I said, it's a ballad done perfectly, you know, like the instrumentation makes sense, not just about execution and technicalities. All right, rambled. Moving on. Future World follows that up. Okay, so I am back to that Maiden thing again. Okay, so this particular song, very Maiden-y sounding to me. It sounds like Charlotte the Harlot and 22 Acacia Avenue had a child. If you're a Maiden fan, you're probably chuckling at that one right now, since one is literally the sequel to the other. Okay. But the other thing is there are definitely some very subtle hints in here to a song. If you ever seen the movie Airheads, I love the movie Airheads. I think it's a great movie. Brendan Fraser is the man. Hell yeah. Adam Sandler, one of the few movies I actually enjoyed Adam Sandler in. Unfortunately, that basically became his character in every movie afterwards. And then Steve Buscemi, man, Rex. Lemmy is God. Alright. So, they do a song on there called Degenerated. I think that's the name of the song anyways. Because that's all I remember. Them. Degenerated. Degenerate. Okay, so I can hear parts in this song that definitely sound like they're out of that song, except for this would have been first, so clearly the song Degenerated from Airheads by the Lone Rangers. Let's take it from this. I'm not saying it was 100% ripoff, but there was definitely some inspiration from this song, okay? So let's go with that. But if you've never seen the movie Airheads, you should definitely watch it. Great movie. I love the movie. Great metal movie before, you know, great cheeseball metal movie, but the right type of cheeseball metal movie. Okay. After Future World, we move on to what I consider the most interesting song on this album. And, most of the songs on this album in general are kind of interesting. And because that whole Iron Maiden kind of thing, they all kind of have that familiarity without ever having to listen to the album. That's great. But when you get to this next track, the band's title track, not the album, the band's title track. That's right, the song Helloween. And this baby is epic length goodness, clocking in at 3:16. But this is not a bad, 3:16. 13:16. 13 minutes, 16 seconds, okay? Now, I love me an epic length song, and sometimes epic length songs can go a little too long. Sometimes they're not long enough. But this one is prime. It does everything, and it starts you off in one spot, takes you through this incredible journey, and ends you at this other spot at the end, which almost brings you back full circle to the beginning. It is marvelous that way. I could easily, now that I've listened to the song, I could easily put this song into a top 100 of hard rock heavy metal songs. Maybe specifically I might have to narrow it down to the 80s. Or at least leave out the 70s. Also depending on what we're defining as hard rock heavy metal. But this is some choice goodness. This one, now, well, it doesn't sound like it belongs up there in the company of what I consider other great epics. I've already covered Outlaw Torn and Fixer. I just did those in my last 2 reviews. Belongs right up there with those, Outlaw Torn and Fixer. Whew. Maybe even a little above Fixer, which is a bit smidge. I'm sure there's a lot of people who say it really belongs above Fixer. I'm going to say maybe a smidge above Fixer. Not above Outlaw Torn, but, a bit above Fixer. Both those songs came after this, though. And then I was also thinking how it belongs in the company of, say, Fear of the Dark, or more appropriately, Dance of Death from Iron Maiden. But both those songs came after this one as well. So I started thinking about, okay, songs that would have been before this. And then we get to Iron Butterflies and In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida. 2 totally different songs, 2 totally different vibes. But that essence of, you have this great, beautiful intro, takes you through this wonderful journey of a middle section and brings you back to that intro at the beginning to close it out, to bring you full circle on that song. Genius. I was also thinking Rush's 2112 because of the arrangements and the complexity, and also Bytor and the Snow Dog for the exact same reason. You got this great complexity and takes you around and everything like that. And or Black Sabbath's title track, Black Sabbath, sounds appropriate. Or even Heaven and Hell also sounds appropriate. Or going as a last offering on this, great epic, takes you on a journey, beginning, middle, end. Whoa, this is nice kind of thing. King Crimson's 20th Century Man also comes to mind on this one. That one actually came to mind quite heavily on this one for some reason. I don't know. What I'm trying to get at is the song Helloween is epic length, but this is the type of epic length you want. This is the type of song you put on and you crank it the fuck up and you enjoy the hell out of it, man, for 13 minutes and 16 seconds. And then that takes us to the last track on the album, which is called Follow the Sign. Basically, this is just like a closer to the album that's in the same idea to match up with Initiation at the beginning of the album. Initiation had no vocals over this. This has no singing. It has a little storytelling over it to a bit. Musically, I think the vibe is actually backwards on this song. It starts off kind of slow and then builds up and almost like it's setting you up to go into another song. But it's actually closing out the album. I kind of think they did it backwards. I think they should have had it slowly kind of taper off, like it was drifting off. Which, musically, with the sound and the effects they run on the guitars and the keyboards and stuff like that, it does kind of sound like they're trying to make it sound like it's floating off a little bit. But I think if they had reversed it musically with the flow, I mean, I'm not saying they should have played it backwards. But, like it starts off really kind of slow and builds up to really heavy, especially with the guitar solo. And I think they should have went backwards with it. They should have went really fast and heavy at the beginning and then tapered it off. I think it would have closed out the album better. If they were going with their original plan, maybe, of making it a double album, having one go in the other, it might have worked better, but I still think they should have had it taper off instead. Just me. Now, it's really interesting because I honestly, before I started listening to the album. I really thought it was a concept album. You've got part 1, part 2. They wanted to release it as a double album. You know, Keeper of the Seven Keys. You look at the album artwork here. I mean, it really does look like it should be some type of concept album, right? You know, Helloween's the type of band that, you know, you'd think would have a concept and whatnot to it. And I listened to it, and I listened to it, and I listened to it, and I couldn't find the concept. And then I went and right up on the album. There's no fucking concept on this album. If there is, I mean, there could be, maybe, possibly something that was spoken of somewhere down the line, but I didn't really notice or find anything. Which is great. It doesn't need to be a concept album. I'm perfectly cool with that. It's great. Cool album, man. If you are into power metal, if you're into 80s metal, you probably should own this album. I've heard this referred to as one of those albums that is a must in heavy metal, and that it's one of those ones that kind of help change heavy metal. I could see that. As I said, some of the songs I want to compare this, you know, especially the song Helloween to, are all released afterwards. So this album arguably definitely had an inspiration on heavy metal. Is this album for everybody? No. And unless you're honestly into power metal specifically or into 80s metal specifically, this may not even be the album for you. Just because it definitely has a sound, a time, and a place. And my views, my opinions, my thoughts. Let me know what your views, opinions, and thoughts are. That is what the comment section is for. Number 2 will be coming. It is not going to be the next review I do. The next 2 reviews are already planned out. It will probably be the review after that. So we're talking about, what is it? Review 321 might be number 2 somewhere soon. Definitely before I hit 330, I will be doing it. Yeah. Like button, subscribe button, bell for notifications. Link below that will take you to Patreon. You can throw me a few bucks that way. Peace, love, take care.